This is Japan, world's third largest and most advanced economy, the world's healthiest country where you can commonly see 90-year-olds walking around, a very low crime rate, top quality education, and an excellent standard of living make Japan an ideal country to live in. But behind all this progress and development, there is some disturbing reality, a dark reality that very few people talk about. In today's video, we are going to uncover this reality and also discuss how Japan could completely collapse in the coming times. Many people might have forgotten this, but in the 1980s, Japan was considered the next superpower. At that time, it was believed that Japan would soon overthrow United States and take control of the global economy. The American administration at that time was seriously concerned about Japan. There were even entire movies made about it, such as Die Hard, Rising Sun, and Blade Runner, which depicted how Japanese corporations would soon take over America. Now, the main reason for this fear was the impressive economic growth that Japan had achieved in 1970s and 80s. At that time, Japan's economic model was considered much stronger than the Western economic model. Japanese stock markets were booming. Japanese products dominated the world, whether it was cars, electronics, or medical equipment. Japanese people at that time knew that as soon as they would graduate from university, they would immediately get a job, and then their life would be set, because almost every job in Japan was a lifetime job. Japan was literally unstoppable, and by the 1990s it had become the world's second largest economy. But then, in 1991, something happened that was about to change Japan's entire destiny. Actually, before 1990s, Japan was experiencing an economic boom that no other country in the world had ever experienced. Real estate prices were skyrocketing, the stock market was at its peak, banks were continuously printing money, and taking out loan was so easy that banks didn't even ask why you needed the loan. But then, one day, this entire bubble burst. Between 1990 and 1991, Japan's stock market fell by 43%. Real estate prices also dropped by more than 50%. Because of the unlimited supply of loans, people had kept some companies that had gone bankrupt years ago, but because they were getting loans from banks, they were never shut down. Japan's market collapsed so badly that no one wanted to invest in it anymore. Japan had now gone from being an economic tiger to the sick man of Asia. But economies often experience such ups and downs, so what was so different about Japan? Basically, something was about to happen to Japan that would affect an entire generation. To understand this tragedy, we need to understand Japan's job culture. In Japan, your corporate career begins with Shishoku Katsudo. This is a job hunting process that every university graduate has to go through. All major companies only hire fresh graduates, and each candidate has to go through numerous interviews and screening procedures. The candidates who clear this tough process get a lifetime job according to the Shushinkoyo policy. Basically, in Japan, once you get a job at a company, you don't leave it for the rest of your life. This is not a law, but the culture has become so strong that no one hires someone who frequently switches job. The benefit of this is that you get job security, meaning you don't have to worry about being fired. But on the other hand, the job market becomes very rigid. You spend your entire life with just one company, and whatever decisions that company makes, you have to accept them. This hiring procedure was also there in the 1990s and continues to this day. If you fail to clear this interview process, you can assume that you will never get a job. It is a door that opens only once in a lifetime. During the 1990 economic crash, all major companies froze their hiring, and this hiring freeze continued for the next 13 years. This period is also referred to as Japan's employment ice age. Those who graduated in 1990 did not get any jobs for the next 13 years, and by the time hiring resumed in 2004, they were around 30 to 40 years old. No Japanese company wanted to hire them because they only hired fresh graduates. This was an entire generation, approximately 20 million people, who later came to be known as the lost generation of Japan. Some people from this lost generation now work in low-paying jobs, but most people are those who live with their parents and are dependent on them. In other words, millions of people in their 30s and 40s still rely on their parents' money. Some of them are hikikomori, meaning they were so disappointed during this period that they completely isolated themselves from the society. They stay at home all day, live off their parents' money, don't work, and have no contact with anyone. population. And this is where Japan's second problem begins. Japan is one of the few countries in the world where people live very long lives. 30% of Japan's population is over 60, which is why Japan is also called a super-aging country. One major reason for this super-aging population is the lost generation, who never married due to lack of financial stability, and therefore, the young generation that these 20 million people would have produced never came into existence. These people have become completely cut off because they were unable to meet society's expectations. Many have committed suicide, and many have fallen into severe depression. The condition of these people also affects society because these millions of people should have been in jobs, and all the money that should have entered the market didn't because of their absence. The current Japanese government is now very concerned about these people and is trying to help them become independent. But so far, the Japanese government has not achieved significant success in this regard. The reason is the rigid job culture, where only fresh graduates are hired who cannot leave the company for their entire life. Every year, many people who don't get a job after graduating are joining this lost generation. Will the Japanese government be able to solve this problem? Or will this lost generation be the cause of Japan's downfall? Only time will tell. If you liked this video, please follow our account. These are all the sources we consulted for this video. I need your opinions and suggestions on this video. Take care.